Manchester United's provisional 2025 transfer plan is revealed. Luke Shaw is in the defining moment of his Man United career as we get linked with a January move for a left-back, and Manchester United will add one more winger next season. All this plus the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with there was an interesting report yesterday from Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News. So Samuel Luckhurst, he is a bit of a shit stirrer sometimes, but he is fairly credible when it comes to United news. I think he gets briefed from the clubs. Whether this was a club brief or not, I'm not sure. But he was claiming that Manchester United's provisional plan is to sign a defender, a midfielder, and a winger next summer. And then he also went on to mention that Eze is of interest, which then kind of led to loads of rumours and loads of reports regarding Eze and Manchester United, which we'll run through. So Samuel Luckhurst said Eze is among the forward Manchester United are monitoring ahead of a probable reinforcements on the flanks next year. The Manchester Evening News did a separate article on Eze, saying that he has a £68 million release clause in his Crystal Palace contract that can be triggered next year. But then Fabrizio Romano himself come out saying that the idea of Manchester United in 2025 is to add one more winger. They've been following and monitoring Eze. He is a player they like, but he's not the only one on the list. They're tracking several wingers. So Fabrizio Romano confirming that Eze is a player of interest for Manchester United. He's obviously not the only one. We're early into, this season, so the scouts and everybody have got plenty of time to be looking into targets for potentially next summer. Or even possibly January, because there are still a few reports of Anthony leaving, even though I've kind of dismissed them. And, his agent himself saying he's not thinking about moving. Who knows? If his game time gets limited, that might be a conversation to have for January as well, although it is difficult to get these sort of some players in January. And whether we'll quite have the funds to go for, a top-class winger in January would remain to be seen as well. But really interested. Let me know what you think about that. So going back to the original one, so United are looking for midfielder. I agree with that. I think that's still an area of concern. Another defender, what we're talking, left-sided defender, a left-back, possibly. There's news on left-backs I'm going to bring you at the end of the video, so stick around for that. And a winger next season, I totally agree with that, actually. I think that is the kind of next priorities from the way I see it in the squad. Another forward, obviously, it depends on I think a lot will depend on how Rashford, Garnacho, and Ahmad do develop, might then determine which type of winger we go for as well, because, if Rashford doesn't perform, and then potentially with Ineos, they look to move him on next summer, you might be then looking at somebody maybe a bit more experienced or a bit more, like a Nico Williams, for example. Although Eze's got Premier League experience and he is a bit more of an older player, or potentially if Rashford does well this season, they decide to keep him, would we then look for maybe somebody a little bit more younger to kind of bring through? Who knows? But I do agree with those kind of positions. Left-sided centre-back, we obviously know we were linked a lot with Branthwaite this summer, so it is definitely an area that they're looking to kind of strengthen. Plus, we've got a lot of defenders leaving. Maguire, Lindelof, Johnny Evans, all going to be potentially gone next season because they're all out of contracts, so it is definitely another area that we still need to strengthen to get some depth in when they leave. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, another winger that we've been linked with, Assane Diao. So Assane Diao is someone Manchester United have tracked for a long time. They're interested. That came from the Muppeteers, who's a very credible source when it comes to United. I think he's got inside information regarding the club. Very, very credible. Assane Diao, right-footed, right winger. He probably is a little bit two-footed as well, so he can play across the front three, really. Can play off the left and the right. 18 appearances last season, 2 goals. Looks a very explosive, quick winger who likes to turn players. Very raw, though. There's not too much information on these sort of players when they're young and raw, and making their kind of early steps in their career where they're only playing like a handful of games and stuff. But the kind of reports and the data and everything that's out there, he does look a really good player. They're dubbing him the new Nico Williams in Spain. He's that kind of profile, very, very direct, very quick. Would be a very interesting option. That goes back to what I was saying before. It would depend, I think, a lot on what sort of profile they're looking for as well. Obviously, we know Ineos are looking for younger, hungrier players to come through and develop. He would definitely fit that. Being very young, he's 18, I believe. So he would fit that mold. But again, who is it you're looking to replace? If Rashford goes, I think we might then maybe go for like a more experienced winger, because you're leaving yourself, with Ahmad, Garnacho, and then Diao. If you get him in, that's 3 very young, raw players. I do think there's a bit of value in having a bit of experience. And there's 26 now, and obviously a couple of seasons in the Premier League under his belt. So I think it depends on what we're kind of looking for as well. But 2 very interesting options. Eze, again, similar player, can play across the front lines. There's an argument to say, is he more of an attacking midfielder through the middle? I'm not so sure. And then Diao, potentially 2 names that we're looking for in the future. Let me know what you think about those in the comments. And then, as if by magic, because Samuel Luckhurst came out saying that we're looking for these 3 positions, we've then had links with a lot more of those positions yesterday as well, and over the last 24 hours. So onto the midfield. So the Muppeteers said that Manchester United have been watching Adam Wharton and Hayden Hackney. They're 2 different types of midfielders United are looking at. United are looking at someone who could pair with Ugarte or Mainu, a deeper kind of controller midfielder. So does that mean someone along the lines of Zubimendi? Remember, we were heavily linked with him in the summer, and he's more of a controlling midfielder, like a Carrick sort, where he can conduct the play and make passes out from the back through the line and that sort of thing. So interesting if United are looking at that type of midfielder. I do think there's value in having different players for different systems or different kind of scenarios. 2 interesting names there as well. Adam Wharton, a little bit similar to Diao that we just mentioned. Very young, very raw, very highly regarded, though we were linked with him before he made his move to Palace. Definitely a player of interest from ours. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on and develops, if he is just a flash in the pan, or will he have a good season this season for Palace? That could be potentially one we look at. Hayden Hackney plays, ironically, for Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. Again, looks a decent player. Is that someone that we're going to be potentially? So, but it's interesting to see it's the caliber of midfielder. So we know we're definitely looking for midfielders. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Another name that we've been linked with. Now, this player is more of an attacking midfielder. So Manchester United are among the clubs monitoring defender Piau Canelles, who's 19, scouting and monitoring already started ahead of upcoming windows. Piau is an attacking midfielder and being monitored by United. Not a player I've heard of or seen a lot. There's not that much information or data, and watching a few highlights on YouTube doesn't really paint a full picture. Interesting prospect. Is kind of highly regarded apparently by a few reports and stuff that I read. Plays more as as it mentioned there, as an attacking midfielder, so more as like a number 10 type player. That's come from Sam C, who's a very credible source as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Would fit the mold of being young, up and coming, developmental, which we know Ineos and Dan Ashworth have been tasked to kind of bring in. So yeah, definitely an interesting profile of player. I wonder what that means in terms of, like Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount playing in that sort of position. But again, we do need squad depth, and we do need to start looking at the future in that position as well, because Bruno's just turned 30, so he's not going to be around forever. So bringing in somebody that can work under him for maybe a season or 2, and then potentially either push Bruno onto the bench, or we've got a bench option, or take over that kind of mantle would be, now's the time to start thinking about those things, right? Because we always leave those decisions too late, and then we scramble around, try and find the finished article that comes in. So much pressure on them straight away to perform, and then if they don't perform, they end up being a flop, and we end up selling them or letting them run their expensive contracts down. So I do think it's smart to get ahead of the game and start planning these things in advance. And then the Muppeteers said the people at United, from the limited amount they've seen of Ugarte. Oh, sorry, I should have lined this one up first. So the other midfielder that we've already got in is Ugarte, and the Muppeteers said something interesting, saying that the people at United, from the limited amount they've seen of Ugarte, are incredibly impressed with his physical floor and physical levels, and energy and his aggression. So that kind of highlights a little bit around what we've got coming in with Ugarte, that apparently people at the club are already impressed with, with his attributes, having only seen him for a few days before he went on international duty, although I'm sure they've been watching the international matches as well. And he actually played quite well the other day. So yeah, interesting things going forward. So that's the wing, the midfield, and then obviously in Samuel Lucas' report, he was mentioned about the defence, and then lo and behold, we got linked with a few defenders yesterday as well, as if by magic. So, firstly, in regards to Lindelof, Samuel Lucas also said that Victor Lindelof will be released by United at the end of the season if he stays beyond January. It's likely to be Johnny Evans' final season of playing career as well. That's pretty much stating the obvious, though, because Victor Lindelof's in the last year of his contract, so is Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans is 36 now, coming on 37, so he's obviously not going to be playing forever. And yeah, it is what it is with Lindelof. We're in a position where, unfortunately, transfer window flu, got injured this transfer window, so we couldn't get rid of him. So he's going to either leave in January for a really, really stupid fee, really cheap fee, or they'll just keep him until the end of the season. He'll go for nothing, but it is what it is. Nothing we can do about that. Now, in terms of other defenders that we've been linked with, this is I think second or third time we've been linked with this defender, so he definitely seems like a player of interest. I remember mentioning on a few previous videos a while ago, saying that Manchester United sent scouts to watch centre-back Sahin Yilmaz, who's 20, against England's under-20s. He's been promoted to Trabzonspor's first team, but yet to make his debut. Now, I probably butchered the team name, apology. He's played 48 times for the under-19 squad, 7 goals, 4 assists for his centre-half. Played in a few friendlies, yet to make his first team debut, though. He's impressed. He's got good passing accuracy, long balls. He's got a good ability to clear the line. Is right-footed, though, because obviously if we think we're looking for a left-sided centre-back, someone to compete with Martinez, it doesn't necessarily always mean that right-footers can't play there. It's just in terms of balance on the squad. I do think teams prefer left-footers on the left-hand side, but interesting option. Very raw, not much information on him. Not a player that I've watched loads, but just doing some research and seeing, what scouting websites and stuff has said about him. That's the kind of profile you would be getting with Yilmaz. But let me know if you know more in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on him. And then obviously the other player of interest we know is Jarrad Branthwaite. Again, Samuel Lucas said that Manchester United are expected to keep tracking Jarrad Branthwaite. I think he would be one that we'll potentially go back in for next summer, obviously depending on what happens with Everton, who have had a really bad start to the season. Who knows what's going to happen with them going forward. But Jarrad Branthwaite, I think, would maybe still be a player of interest. Obviously, we're interested in him in this summer. Makes sense that we might be interested in him again next summer. Obviously, can play on the left side as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on going into future transfer windows. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And the last story I've got for you regarding Luke Shaw. So this came from Dean Jones, now from Gimme Sports. So Gimme Sport are an outlet that have got, more credible journalists and less credible journalists. Dean Jones is one of the more credible journalists, saying that Manchester United have put acquiring a new left-back high on their agenda for January after growing frustrated by Shaw's injury problems, and they have wasted no time in identifying Robinson, Kirkes, and Loco as targets to bolster their options in the position. Dean Jones also said that although Shaw is nearing a return to action, Gimme Sports sources have been told that the number of appearances he manages to make before the transfer window reopens for business at the turn of the year will dictate how Manchester United look into the market. So Dean Jones kind of confirming what been widely reported is it's going to be, it's almost Luke Shaw's last chance. If he doesn't stay fit between now and January, they're going to look to get a replacement in January, and a top replacement as well. They're not just going to get a stopgap signing. They're going to look to actually let's bite the bullet now. Clearly, Luke Shaw's unreliable, as if you needed this season to know that. But I think they're waiting to see, can he prove his fitness? Because obviously they're getting more, coaching. The facilities are changing. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot going on behind the scenes at Carrington and stuff. So are they giving him the benefit of the doubt to say, well, actually, yeah, with our physios haven't been very good, or the facilities haven't been very good, which has maybe contributed to more injuries. So now if we get that right, let's see how Luke Shaw gets on. If he's still constantly injured, then see you later. They're going to look to replace him in January. Getting rid of Shaw, though, is going to be difficult because he's not long signed a new contract. But obviously it is what it is. It is what it is. Not a lot we can do about that. So, and then the final thing from the report from Dean Jones said that Sir Jim and other board members are seeing Luke Shaw as an unreliable and unsustainable first choice candidate. He will enter a defining moment in his United career when he fully recovers from his calf injury in the coming weeks. So it looks like, pressure's on Luke Shaw now, not just for performances, but to remain fit and to remain available for selection between now and January. Then they'll reassess it. If he's not, then they'll go for a left back. It sounds like possibly in January, or if not, definitely they're going to look for one next summer as well. And I agree actually that this is Luke Shaw's last kind of chance to stay fit. I don't mind if he gets because we're playing so many games. If he got a couple of knocks here and there, do you know what I mean? Then fair enough. Missed a couple of games. You can't expect a player to be 100% available for every single game with the amount of fixtures that we've got coming up. So, and he is going to get little knocks and stuff. But, to be out for, he was out from February last season, injured for the entirety of the second part of last season. Injured for the Euros, decided to go to the Euros, played a game and a half, and then came back injured. Do you know what I mean? That's a bit of a piss take in my opinion. I don't kind of rate that. And then in terms of the replacements, I mean, Robinson, I like Premier League experience. Bit over the age, though, that Ineos might be looking for at 27, but would be a really, really good option, in my opinion. Same with Kirkes, actually. Obviously, a lot younger than Robinson. He's 20, played in the Premier League. More of an up-and-coming player. But again, good option if you want somebody more long-term. Bradley Locco plays for Brest in France, for those who don't know, 22. So again, decent age to be bringing in as a kind of first choicer. A player that we've been keeping an eye on for a while. I remember doing a video, I think it was last summer when we were kind of looking at him. Obviously, I brought you links the other day with Dorogo from Lecce, is it? I think in Italy, very good up-and-coming player, 19 years old. Cabal from Juventus, again, brought you that news the other day. So we're definitely interested in left-backs. The left-back situation is definitely hotting up. I think we've been linked with that Nori from Wolves, Gutierrez as well as another player. So there's a few names on the list of potential candidates for left-back. Let me know who you would prefer actually in the comments. That'll be interesting to hear out of the left backs that we've been currently been linked with. Personally, there are some good players on that list, some good up and coming players. I mean, that Dorogu looks a very interesting option. 19 years old, looks absolutely blistering fast. I'm not sure if their links with the United though were genuine or whether we were just being used to generate views, as I mentioned in the video I did the other day. I mean, I keep going back to Robinson, I think he's a good player, Premier League experience. I know he's a bit older than the others mentioned, but that's why I would be going for him for me, because he's 27 and you think in 3 years' time he's going to be 30, right? Mathematician, Jamie there. Okay, but Harry Amas will then be 20. And I rate Harry Amas really highly. I think he's got the potential to be a first teamer at United. And if you're getting some of these other players that are 19, 20, you've then got Amas, it might stump Amas's development. Whereas if you've got Robinson in, if you're looking into the future and you're kind of thinking, well, in 3 years' time, Amas is going to be 20, you'd hope by then he's developed and got a little bit more experience and potentially knocking on the door to become our first team left back. If you've got Robinson, who's just turned 30 at that time, who potentially is on the kind of decline and you can start taking a step back, you've still got then two good left backs that you can rotate with. So for that reason, I'm tipping more towards Robinson, but that doesn't mean that all the others are not good, because it just depends on what you're looking for, I suppose, from the squad and the club, if you rate Amas, if you don't rate Amas. But yeah, that would be my kind of choice between the left backs as it stands. Obviously, you know, opinions change, things change, don't they, in football? But let me know yours in the comments. And that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I enjoy reading them. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next one.